Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
That's just small. So anybody else opposed to that? No? Okay, I think you guys have direction to move forward.
Thank you.
Sweet. Okay, so next is comments from public on items not on the agenda. And I just need some clarification because we did get 3 requests and the subjects, if not on the agenda, the name on them on all 3 is Jesse Donovan.
Correct.
I just wanted to know, are you speaking on something is each person not speaking on something that's not on the agenda? Or is it on an item that is on the agenda?
We're all speaking about the same thing, which is Jesse Donovan, and it's not on the agenda.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
So you want me to read this?
Yes, please.
All right. Items not appearing on the agenda. Notice the public. The Brown Act, specifically Government Code Section 54954.2, provides that no action or discussion shall be taken on any item unless it is adequately described in a timely posted agenda. Accordingly, though the public may comment on matters within the board's jurisdiction that do not appear on the agenda, the board cannot respond to such comments without running the risk of deliberating or initiating discussion on topics not properly before the board. Given the prohibitions set forth in the Brown Act and the risk associated with responding to public comments, the board does not respond to the community's questions or comments. The board will respect the rights of the public to express their viewpoints on matters within the board's jurisdiction. However, comments that are defamatory or that violate the privacy rights of any students or individuals may not be protected by law. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings.
All right, Jesse Donovan.
Good evening, school board. I'm here for my CTE pathway cord for fashion design too. I have one of this cords since last year, and I really would like this cord for the pathways, so I'm looking forward to going to work in fashion. We had to do a resume, big job application, and I had turned everything in, and I go to, I'm co-enrolled, I go to YC and then I go to AP. And I have the privilege of going to my fashion period because it's my 3rd, and I technically I'm only supposed to have 2, so I leave midway to catch the bus to my 2nd school. And I had submitted it on the day that it was due, and when I came back the next week, it was not submitted anymore. And that is why, like, I may not get my cord, and that's why I'm here. So if you guys can consider me maybe to get that, thank you.
Thank you. Narika Soroya.
Good evening, school board and audience. I'm here to share my support for Yuba City High School student Jesse Donovan. In case you don't know, when completing a CTE pathway to get your cord, you have to submit a work-ready portfolio with a resume, cover letter, letter of recommendation, resume, cover letter, and job applications in that specific field. Jesse Donovan, a classmate of my fashion class, applied for the cord, completed all the documents in real time, and on the day that it was due, asked me for help, and I offered my help for him to merge all the documents onto one document for him to submit. Well, I completely helped him. We finished everything, and once we finished, I watched him turn it in, shut his Chromebook, And in order to make the bus to Albert Powell, he closed it and was in a rush. When we came back the next week, we were told that it never submitted. We're not sure what the issue was. Maybe he shut his Chromebook too quickly, but we just want to make sure that he's able to get his cord. He's followed all the rules with getting a CTE pathway or completing the pathway. He's completed all of the requirements, and I think that he really should get his cord, and I would love for you all to consider it. Thank you.
Stacy Starkey.
Good evening. I'm also here on behalf of Jesse Donovan. We have gone through all the proper channels. We've spoken to the principal. We've spoken to Martin, and I came to the district office to speak to somebody else. You are all in a meeting when I came that day. They took my name and number. No one ever got back to me on it. Jesse has worked very, very hard, and it is a travesty that nobody is fighting for him. I am the only one aside from Jesse himself and Naharka that are doing anything for him to try to get his cord. His teacher is out on leave until June 1st. She's having to have surgery. So she is not here to speak on his behalf. She is just as upset as I am. I'm an aide in that classroom. Jesse is a phenomenal student. He is hardworking. Jesse was sitting right beside me. I also watched him hit submit. They were where all the students that day were trying to submit. It was the day that they were due. He hit submit, he closed his Chromebook, and he left because he had to go catch his bus. And it did not submit. And again, we don't know why that is, if it was a glitch, if he shut it too quickly, but it's unfair to him that he did all that work. And just because it didn't submit, he's being punished for it. We would appreciate the board's consideration in this. We're really at our wit's end. He really deserves this cord. He's worked very hard for it. And it would just be terribly sad if he did not get it. And so we're here to ask that you please consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, consent agenda, are there any questions? If not, can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion we approve.
Second motion.
On a motion by member Ciola, second by member Quilty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 15A, expulsion, suspended contracts, and readmission case recommendations.
I move that we approve as discussed in closed sessions.
Second.
On a motion by member Pretty, second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. B, board policy 2121, superintendent contract.
I bring forward for second reading, as you can see on the final page, page 398 of the packet, others 464, is I think because of the confusion in the language and trying to condense it, I think the EDCO language is clearer, and I hope that it makes more sense now and not the condensed version. So I request that this policy be approved.
It makes more sense on 1 and 3, or I guess like A1, and then there's 2,
And then there's B.
and then there's B. Okay, so, but we need to change the way the subject is written, right? Because it's part of our policy instead of ed code. That would be just grammatically, right? But, because it says the governing board, right? Instead of the board. So I appreciate getting it right from ed code. So seeing that, it looks like to me, A, is not an either or issue, A, and then there's 1 and 2. Number 1, you can't do a termination without cause at a special or emergency meeting of the board, right? That's the, right, paraphrase. 2 still says what mostly what the original said, which was, okay. So I don't know if this is and or if it's one or two, or if it's just, hey, these are both part of it. And two still says you may hold a regular meeting, right? For the purpose of terminating a superintendent or assistant superintendent of the school district or both without cause during, and here we go, any month in which a regular meeting of the governing board is not scheduled. So at least it clears up the fact that you can't have a special board meeting. But it still says that you can't call special or an emergency one, but you still have to call a meeting in a month whereby you don't have a regular meeting scheduled.
I think it means, okay, because I've kind of tried to finagle my mind around this.
Right?
What I believe it means is that it can be agendized on a regular board meeting. We can't call another regular board meeting to do this. Does that make sense? Like, we can't say,
Call.
wait, let me finish. Let me see if I can make this make sense. So think about this. In July, we only have one board meeting. It's the fourth Tuesday. A regular board meeting would usually be scheduled also on the second, but we don't have one scheduled on the second Tuesday of July. All right, we only have the one in July. So we can't say, okay, we're gonna go ahead and have our regular board meeting the second Tuesday of July so we can fire our superintendent. We can't do that. I think that's what it means. It's very confusing. It does sound like double speak. You know, it's almost like Orwellian of double speak it is, but not quite, but it's close.
Well,
But it is ed code, and I believe that is the intent.
That
of
is the
language.
intent.
well, then
That
if
is
that's
the
the intent, can we cite the ed code? Because we're gonna do ed code, but can we write it like
Maybe
Shelley
we could
said
put
it?
a parenthetical in there that says, this means that you cannot schedule a regular board meeting for the sole intent and purpose of firing your
Well, I
superintendent.
think it's, so the intent, so let me just explain, the intent is that, and the reason it was added was that governing boards were calling special meetings in which the community could not participate, so it was, I'm gonna call it a secret meeting, so that's the intent of not to have these meetings of an emergency, call it.
I
call it
totally get
because-
A1,
right,
but it's
because- right.
A2,
Yeah, and so
what's
it's,
A2?
I think is what Shelley is saying, is that you can have one in July, you could schedule a second meeting, which would be the
A regular meeting where the public would be
second or
included.
the fourth
Right.
Tuesday, so your regularly scheduled board meetings on any regular month is going to be the second and the fourth. So you would schedule a second meeting on a month that you only have one meeting, because you.
Oh,
have
so we can
a-
only terminate without cause on a month where we have only
Right.
one meeting.
We can agendize it, like, we could agendize it for May, the first meeting in April. We could agendize it for then, if we chose to, and that would be okay.
So we can agendize it in a regular meeting.
We just can't,
Correct.
we
You
just can't.
Oh,
You
okay,
can't hold a special meeting for that purpose,
This
that's
is
why it's
why-
added to.
that's why I love Shelley.
There we go.
Okay, but I still hold that these are our policies.
But they're also ed code.
And I'm there, that's not, the whole
That's still
point I have,
confusing.
my whole point is, yes, it's ed code, which is why we cite the ed code. But
You want a clarifying parenthetical.
I would rather have that, because then let Sacramento or whatever, who like to comb through our policies, I'll sit right next to them, I don't care. But if that is not the intent, like, I would love for them to untangle their lawyer speak, would be grand. But these are our policies, I would rather have it written in that way, citing the ed code as detailed in
And
yada
in the
yada.
intent of the ed code. Okay.
So that those of
Because
us
that's
who
the
actually
idea.
speak
Let me,
English.
we'll bring it back again,
So we'll be pulling B.
yes.
Alright. Thank you. C, board approval for Sutter County probation contract for the 25-26 school year.
So as you know, we have probation officers on Yuba-Sutter High School, River Valley, Gray Avenue, and then we also have one that is our truancy officer. I believe there are 4 officers separate, you know. And so this is the contract for the 25-26 school year. It has actually gone down in cost because of just the cost of their officers, so we are making a recommendation, we continue with our probation officers.
Has there been, like, when we look at the need for our school district and whatnot, has there? I mean, we've had this program for a long time. I remember having discussion about the probation officers and their roles, responsibilities when I first started on the board. Has there, like, have you guys identified a need for more?
I don't know that there's been an express need for more. I know that we really have worked hard with probation to define their roles, so they're more intervention than they are, so that's what we appreciate, and then also they're seen as part of the campus. I don't know, Tina, I have not heard a request from our probation officers at any of the other sites.
No, we haven't had any requests for those in the last 3 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest request is just maintaining campus security and campus safety,
Yeah,
and they're part of the overall comprehensive safety plan.
So are they on campus all day? They're there all day?
And then they.
Except when they're going out
They go
to
to-
homes, right?
they go to
Right,
homes,
yeah,
they
but
do
still,
trips.
they're just their house there and,
Did I hear you say that it's actually gone down?
The cost of it has gone down, but it just because of the cost of the officers that are assigned to our sites.
How do we measure the success of this program?
So I think that in terms of the interactions with the students and the fact that they are working to decrease some of the serious behaviors, and I think based upon the feedback from the LCAP committee regarding the work that they're doing with our students. So part of that is this is funded through LCAP funds, and so the LCAP committee continues to see the need not only for our probation officers, but our SROs.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I was just gonna ask, is part of their duties, if they're going to homes, is part of their duties with our students who are chronically truant?
Yes.
To go to those homes and say, okay, your kid needs to get here, or
Yes.
there's going to be something
Yes.
happening.
So often they are intervening with those types of students, not only going out to the home, but we do have our truancy officer as one of the probation officers, and so that's what she does for the whole district. So she's going out to elementary sites and elementary families, but also that's what our middle school and high school probation officer are doing, is working with those students and helping them make better choices.
Right, well, and I know truancy usually works with the little kids, thinking,
Yeah.
if we nip that in the bud when they're young, it's not as big a problem, but I also taught high school for a long time, and kids like to not be there
Yeah.
whenever they can possibly get away with it, so. Okay, all right, thank you.
My last question is, and it's not about the PO part, but just making sure. It was, so I received a Ring video camera of the truancy, and this was not this year, it was last year, visiting a home where they had pulled their kids out to homeschool. And the truancy officer and the accompanying school individual were not up on the law on filing affidavit, and gave the person the wrong information about, oh, you have to file your homeschool affidavit before you do this and that, and that's actually not true. There's a time in October where it has to be done. So I'd like to chalk that up to just, they were asking like, what kind of curriculum are you using and that kind of thing. They backpedaled, so you could tell one of them knew we're not here for that. But I just want to make sure that we have whomever goes out there, especially in those first couple of months, because that happens, that they are well versed in the law and are not misrepresenting it to people who wouldn't have known better. I mean, the people who sent me the ring absolutely knew, but you could see where it would be.
And typically with when you get to a point where probation officers visiting a home for truancy, we send out letters every 3, 6, 9, and 10 when you have truancies. And the probation officers typically work with the more, I would say, extreme cases where kids are chronically absent. So this typically they receive notification when their students are truant. Then when it gets to that level, they would know that their kids just should probably be in school.
Oh, yeah, well, in this case, they had withdrawn their student, but they hadn't enrolled them in another public school.
Oh, okay, so that was different.
So it's not truancy, but but you could tell there was like a push in the beginning of the school year to say, hey, you haven't enrolled your kid, and, oh yeah, well, we're homeschooling, oh, you've gotta file your affidavit, and they're like, yeah, no, I don't, and
But I
what,
think that might be, sorry to cut you off, I think that might be also just the miscommunication with the district's obligation to do child find. Right, like making sure that we know where the students are, because I mean, you're still on our iPads.
Well, and I think there is confusion regarding the ability to homeschool and what that really means. And so for some families, I would hope they were trying to help educate that you need to file and do those things. Because often we do have families who say, I'm homeschooling, but you do have to be attached to something.
and they did, the officers did say, you have to file, but they said you have, but their deadline was wrong.
Yeah.
And has never
Yeah.
been.
We
So,
can make sure that's clarified.
but you can understand somebody in a uniform coming to your door and making false statements like that. It's very intimidating, especially if that person is not as well versed
Right.
in what their rights are and what the law states.
Right.
So,
But also that we run into a lot of homeschools that are not homeschools. They're
sure,
just keeping their children home.
right.
Yes, we can clarify that.
Can I get a motion, please? If there's no more questions.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second the
A
motion.
motion by member Sucio, a second by member Quilty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. D, approval of the 23-24 corrective action for finding 2024-001 state compliance classroom teacher salaries.
So I'm gonna put a little information that really applies to this action item and the next action item. So as you read through the
Scott, I'm so sorry. Can I
Oh,
interrupt you
please,
just for a
yes.
second? I just want a clarifying question. Mr. Kraft, are you wanting to speak on this item or is it E?
It's D.
You both want to speak on D?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it says E on here, so I just wanted to.
I apologize, it should say D.
Okay. Okay.
On this item.
so as you look at the board material, there's the audit finding. So this first part is approving just the audit finding, the corrective action. And so there is a requirement in school accounting to spend approximately 55% or more of current expenses on teacher salaries. And so we did not make that criteria in 23-24. We missed it by 1.4%, which is about $2.7 million. And in that finding, it also says it's a repeat finding, which is accurate. We had a similar audit finding the year before, 22-23. And also, just as a reminder, first of all, we have every intention of, working towards meeting this requirement. And so we'll talk about that. During the period of 22-23, we did have a settlement with our bargaining units of over 11.5% of salary. And that's a little bit, somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 million is the dollar amount that we did not get credit for in the prior 22-23 or 23-24. Kind of what I'm getting at is in one of these years we wouldn't have had an audit finding if the auditors would have given us credit for that.
Say that one more time. Just that number.
A little over $8 million for teachers for the YCTA bargaining. Yeah.
For which year?
So this was for 22-23.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that, I wasn't right, go ahead.
So it was interesting, so we had the audit finding and then the auditor said, well, we should have had those dollars in our 22-23 expenses, which they made us do in the final in the audit, but it didn't change the fact that there was still an audit finding. So it's a little strange, but anyways. So we need to, look at this, figure out the root causes of this, and then work on a plan of, making this a better situation. I know you're going to hear a little bit more about this from Dina on this topic. And what, we've talked a little bit in cabinet. I think, we can dive into the information to see, some of this has to do with some of the restricted dollars that, one-time restricted dollars that we've received, COVID dollars. We still had finishing off COVID spending in 23-24. We're gonna just kind of take a look at this. We'll bring you some more information about all this, and so we can work towards finding a solution going forward.
Can I just recap, just make sure I understand what you're saying?
Mhm.
So there was money that was spent on teacher salary for 22-23 that should have been reported for 23-24.
They weren't recorded in 22-23 because we settled really late in the year.
Right.
Okay. And so it wasn't captured in 22-23, which resulted in the audit finding.
For 22-23.
Yes. And then the auditors made us actually restate those figures in the audit report. Didn't go back and take the audit finding away, but which would have, you know, if those numbers would have been in there, there would have been audit finding that year is what I'm getting at.
Oh, but it doesn't change 23-24, which is what we're talking about now.
That is correct.
Okay, it just changes that
The
we just
review
have the
finding.
1 year. Really, if we're talking about truth, it's just the 1 year.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But it doesn't change the fact that we need to look at this and find a solution to move forward. So, and so we're gonna look at that. And I believe, you know, in May, we can bring some information to the board and start working towards, you know, solving this.
I
Issue.
really don't like hearing we're working toward when it's something in ed code and we've already missed the audit twice. I understand that there was one-time money and everything got confused. There was a big kerfuffle, all the COVID stuff, all the COVID money, you know, one-time funds, not one-time funds, ongoing funds. It got really confusing for a lot of people. I understand that. But not paying our people what the state, I mean, the state's one that gives us all the funding. And the state through ed code says teacher salaries are to be at 55% or more. And for them not to be, to me, when teachers say they want to be respected, following the letter of the law as far as ed code is concerned is the least we can do. I understand there are some extenuating factors because of the one-time monies and all of that kind of stuff. I understand that, but I don't want to hear going forward, perhaps we can do better. No.
So I don't think that's what we're saying. We've already
It
had.
sounded that way.
Well, I don't think that was Scott's intent because we've had a conversation in cabinet regarding this matter already. That is why, and I asked some specific questions about what the causes, and so I know what the causes appear to be, but again, how to avoid this in the future. And so that is really about the conversation that will be brought back at the May meeting in terms of the analysis of actually what
But you guys are asking, but you're asking the board to approve a waiver now. For what? For past or
For
current?
past, for past.
not moving forward.
But not for 24-25,
Because that's
Okay.
the year we're in now,
right?
right? And
So it has nothing to do with current, it's only what's already gone.
Right,
It's for the 20, this is a waiver for the 23-24.
What we're just audited on.
so the solutions would be the discussion is the conversation in May is, that's why I asked for a specific time for that Scott and staff could come back. And that would be the discussion, and then what are the options to avoid this? And I understand in terms of compensation of 55%, but there is also, you know, there will be some decisions the board will have to make in order
I
to do
understand that
that.
too.
So, yeah,
There's only so big a
there
pie.
you go. So we understand the obligation, and again, it's not something that we want to see happen 2 years in a row. They happen. There's some extenuating circumstances that can be explained. However, going forward, this is not something that we want to continue to have as an audit finding. So there will be some recommendations and hard decisions by the board.
So I just have a question, and if there's any questions, you can open it up to the speakers. My question is this: when I'm like reading through this, the audit finding, corrective action, like it asks you to describe how, like what specific corrective action you're doing in resolving the audit findings. What other options are there instead of filing for this waiver? What would be other potential solutions as opposed to.
Well, there's a solution. I think that right now is that I would ask that we wait until May for the solutions to be brought forward as possibilities, but right now, so there's a dollar amount that's associated with the, I'm gonna call it the gap, percentage of gap, so I think it's 1.1.
1.4%.
Right, and so there's a dollar amount, so the application of that, which is about $2 million.
2.7.
But, right,
No, I don't think I'm being clear enough. Like, I guess the question is, okay, we have this ding, right? To me, I just want clarity. So we have this ding on us for whatever reason, one-time funds, whatnot, I'm not debating any of that stuff. But our option right now, as far as corrective findings or corrective action that we have to take, the only option that we have is to submit this waiver for the 23-24 school year, and then, but we don't, like, the waiver is sufficient for the corrective action, but there's no action that we have to
moving
go
forward.
back and fix.
No, because I mean, we can't change the past, right? So, but we do need to, again, focus on this as a district so we can do better. So that's, you know, we're asked for the waiver on on this part, and then we'll come back with information and solutions going forward.
You're not trying to fix the prior year, you're trying to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future.
So it's not really past corrective, it's future corrective. Like correct it so it doesn't happen.
That's correct. That's what they're looking for is there's, you know,
What are
there's a
the-
compliance issue.
What are the
So how do we get
stopgaps
better?
that you put
Right.
in place
Right.
to avoid this? So I have a technical question with regards to how they calculate this. Because I know we've had to use vendors to help us fill positions where we didn't have qualified applicants, right?
Mhm.
So, but so when we pay a vendor, that is not considered in our teacher salaries because they're not permanent employees, quote unquote permanent employees, but we are still paying people to teach our students, right?
That is correct. We're paying a service instead of a salary there. Yeah.
Okay. Have we ever crunched the numbers just for fun? Because numbers are fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, have we ever crunched the numbers to see just on our end that is killing me, and now I've killed it. You don't have to put that in minutes. Have we ever crunched the numbers to see like what if we distilled it in the sense of what we're paying people to educate our students, even though they're not permanent, because I think everybody agreed that we prefer permanent employees, but in the absence of somebody who is qualified, certified, and has checked all the boxes, that this is kind of to provide for our students, this is where we go. Have we ever crunched them numbers to see, you know, where we are there?
So I think that's part of the analysis, and that's actually a good reminder. I'm just taking some.
Don't sound so surprised. Sorry.
That's part of the information that we wanted, you know, analyze what got us here and where are we now and how do we get better going forward, right? So I think we'll probably see some of the temp services are a contributing factor. I think we'll see some of the one-time spending with one-time dollars a contributing factor. And so if we can kind of get an idea of what that looks like, and then how does that translate to where we are right now for 24-25, and then how does that work for 25-26? We really need to kind of look at this so we get this right, you know, going forward.
And comparatively, our one-time dollars are where now versus then, like rough
Yeah, we still have
estimate
some
percentage
interesting
wise.
one-time dollars, so
Right.
we had some, for this audit year, we had some COVID dollars. And then Tino's, I mean, there's still some one-time grants, multi-million-dollar one-time grants that, again, the one-time grants are hard to pay salaries with because it goes away, right?
And you shouldn't.
Right, so we still have some of that, not a lot of it, we're not expecting really much or any in the 25-26 year. We'll have some leftover one-time dollars because we have one grant going out, I think.
But nobody's like distilled it down to a percentage as compared to prior years yet.
You know, I haven't crunched that, it's substantially yes, but I know I don't have the exact numbers, we'll bring that back up.
Sorry, I think those are all my questions.
I had a question, but I forgot it. Maybe I'll think about it after. Let's go ahead and have Dina come on up. You wanna read the statement for item on the agenda?
On the agenda.
Thank you.
Under the Brown Act, the board shall entertain comments on any item appearing on the posted agenda. As the board discusses agenda items, audience participation is permitted. Generally, the president will ask board members for their remarks before recognizing requests to speak from the audience. At the president's discretion, agenda items may be considered in other than numerical order. The board will respect the rights of the public to express their viewpoints on matters within the board's jurisdiction. However, comments that are defamatory or that violate the privacy rights of any student or individual may not be protected by law. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meeting.
You got my way.
I'm sorry.
There's a PowerPoint to share with the board.
Did they already get a copy of it as well?
They did as well.
Amy, you sent it to.
I sent it to you, the board members, and I also asked how we would get it loaded, and I was told to put it on a PowerPoint.
Who told you that?
John,
Sorry.
That was just a conversion.
right, yeah, I sent it to everybody at like 5 o'clock.
5:19.
Thank you.
We were all sitting here when it came in to read it.
Well, I didn't get.
And some of us didn't get here till 6 and we're driving and didn't get.
Yeah, no, I knew you were getting here till 6.
We like specificity. I'm forwarding it to you.
John's got it.
He's got it. Oh, no, he's got it. He's just asking permission to use it. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, just the timer probably wouldn't be on. Time.
Which how we remember Teachers Association, and I'd like to address you on the audit findings and the material weakness. At your last board meeting, you saw the audit findings, and these are the audit findings that indicate your material weakness in not complying with the state minimum spending on teachers' salaries. And I'm going to click that button, right?
Yes, the vote too.
Okay, thank you. So this is the highlight of your audit findings. The effect of the finding is the district is out of compliance with the state requirements for classroom teacher salaries. The cause, the district did not establish adequate internal controls to ensure that total expenditures for classroom teacher salaries exceeded the minimum required. And this is a repeat finding. So that's that 55% minimum, and the district spent 53.6%. Slide, please. And this is the district's application for an exemption for the required expenditures for classroom teachers per Ed Code 41372. And this is being presented at tonight's board meeting for your action. Go to the next slide. I highlighted a few areas. In this area, the district claims salaries are in excess of those paid by comparable districts, but presents no evidence despite a requirement to do so. You'll see that in the parentheses down below where the district has checked the X box. YCTS does have evidence to the contrary, and I'd like to show you that evidence now on the next slide. YCTA ran our own comparability analysis several weeks ago after Marysville settled in their recent settlement. YCUSD is not competitive, and you'll see the highest salary at step 25. We are at the bottom of the list. I've never seen us fall below Woodland. I was shocked because Woodland's usually at the bottom of the list. Chico is below Woodland at this point, but the problem with Chico and Davis is they compete in an area with a lot of graduating college students because they're college towns. I've never seen Yuba City below Woodland on that year 25. So it was sad when we ran this analysis with regards to comparability. It is particularly sad that we no longer compete with Marysville or Live Oak. And in Marysville's recent settlement, the top of their salary schedule is now at year 32 instead of their previous year 38, which makes them much more competitive than we are. So on the next slide, what would it take for the district to meet this requirement? The district underspent by $2.8 million or $2,768,204. What's the cost of 1% increase to the teacher's salary schedule? $800,746. I'm sorry, the number's right there. I'll call it 800,000, one significant digit for this chemistry teacher. That number for that 800,000 figure comes from the district's second interim, the district calculated cost of 1%. We look at the next slide. Do the math. You do the math, that $208 million deficit divided by the cost of 1% is the equivalent of a 3.4% salary increase, and that would address the deficit. If you look at the next slide, what corrective action is the district taking to address their failure to spend? Read your documentation. It simply says that you will implement necessary internal controls. If you look at the next slide, I highlighted that section for you, where it says Yuba City Unified will be applying to Sutter County Superintendent of Schools for a waiver for the fiscal year 23-24. The district has worked to implement necessary internal controls to ensure that classroom teacher salaries meet or exceed the minimum required percentage of current expense. That may sound familiar, but if you look at the next slide, that's the same thing you said last year. Only last year you gave a little more detail. Last year, YCTA didn't challenge the district on your waiver application because we heard your reasoning. Last year's reasoning was sound. Last year's reasoning was you had paid retros after the end of the budgeted fiscal year. So we didn't challenge it last year. It is on your second consecutive year where you make the same necessary internal controls promises that we are concerned.
Just 1 second. I'm just as a procedure, I'm just gonna ask the direction from the board if they'd like to continue because you passed your 3 minutes, but just procedure. It's your guys' seat. There's 2 more slides, I think, right?
2 more slides, and
I think.
I say let her finish.
Yeah,
Let her
let her
finish.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you. Just procedurally.
no, I
Thank you.
appreciate it because I don't say clock.
Yeah.
I was talking fast.
Yeah, you were. No worries. Thank you.
All right, if you go to the next slide, I provided you with full encode text, that small print. Teacher in me knows you can't read that. So here is the excerpt. If no application for exemption is made or exemption is denied, this is your exemption you're asking the county for, the county and superintendent of schools shall order the designated amount or amount not exempted to be added to the amounts to be expended for salaries of classroom teachers during the next fiscal year. So the intent of the ed code is that you spend that money that you didn't spend last year, that you spend it this year on teachers' salaries. We're asking that you consider doing that because we asked you to do the math. Look at the deficit, look at the cost of 1%, and consider what you will negotiate with us. We will be at the table on Thursday. Thank you.
Mr. Kraft, is there anything you'd like to add?
Finished.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. All right, the only question that I have, just as like a follow-up, was what the ramifications would be to the district, like if this was to happen again. Like, because I know when we're looking at, budget and all of that stuff, it's a 3-year, you have to be fiscally solvent, whatnot, in other aspects of the budget, right? And you can get doing in different ways, but is there, like, do we know what the ramifications?
To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question, but I get the answer to that question.
Okay, cool, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion for D?
I make a motion we approve.
I need a second where the motion does.
Second.
On a motion by member Ciola, a second by member Bonslet, can we do roll call please?
Yes. Member Bonslet?
Yes.
Member Ciola?
Yes.
Member Core?
Yes.
Member Lamb?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
No.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
President Domi?
Yes.
Thank you.
D, approval of the application for exemption from the required expenditures for classroom teacher salary.
This is just the actual part that the request to Sutter County Superintendent of Schools for the same thing, for the exemption.
Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by member Ciola, second by member Bonslet. Is there desire for roll call for this as well? Can we do roll call as well?
Member Bonslet?
Yes.
Member Ciola?
Yes.
Member Core?
Yes.
Member Lamb?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
No.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
President Domi?
Yes.
Thank you.
F, resolution BR 2425-035, authorization of representatives for the Department of General Services and Office of School Construction Projects.
This is more administrative in nature. We just need to rename the designated users of this program, but according to their rules, we need to have a resolution go through the process. So we need to, we're asking to add myself and Doreen or Mark on this reporting Sunday.
Okay.
Or construction event probably.
You guys
Sorry,
weren't on there
helpful. I'll be so helpful.
You guys weren't on there before? Or is this a new program?
I wasn't on there for sure.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion we approve.
I'll second. Okay, on a motion by member Seola, second by member Dami, can we roll call?
Member Bonsley,
Yes.
member Ciola,
Yes.
member Core,
Yes.
member Lamb,
Yes.
member Pretty,
Yes.
member Quilty,
Yes.
and President Domi.
Yes.
And I apologize, the second was by Domi?
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. G, replacement of YCSD school student Chromebooks.
So this is our annual 20% replacement for our Chromebooks. And you'll kind of can see the description of the bidding process that we went through. And we are second here. Sorry, I had to read through my own notes here. So there's a couple disqualifications on the bidding, just because they didn't have everything that we needed to bid. That left CDWG with the lowest responsible bidder on this, on their 20% replacement. That's what we're recommending. That's what we're asking for approval on the board.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do we, I know with our school, like we also have one-to-one devices. And we just had to purchase new laptops as well, but our kids aren't that bad as far as trashing them, but they do. And so I just wanted to ask, are we consistent, or do we have a program in place where if a student damages, we're actually holding them liable for the chargers and for the actual devices themselves?
That's a good question. I would have to check to see how much we enforce that with Fidelity. I can't
We
speak
treat
to
it
it.
just like a textbook.
Yes, they do. They treat it like a textbook, but
It's checked out to them.
it stays on their account till they go to graduate and you figure it out then. What you're
No,
gonna
I
do.
mean, that's great, like that, I know it's
They
been
do
checked out,
keep
but,
account of what they lose or damage,
okay, well, I'm just asking like.
but
now
it's
that
very
we've
hard to
moved
get the
on
money back.
To the one-to-one devices, I'm just asking if we are enforcing it. Because I would like to see enforcement if the students are destroying the devices, whether it's accident or not. I'd just like to know, and you said you can get us information on that, that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes. Okay, so we have done a 20% replacement rate. What is the report on the actual need for it? I mean, as far as the audit of the actual devices. And here are the 20%, and here are the serial numbers of the 20% that were, and then we regain the 20%, refresh it, right? And then we take into inventory the 20% that we replaced, checking them. And I mean, because I know that there is a margin there. There's a margin there because there are ones that wear out prior to the 5 years,
Yeah.
and ones that wear out.
It's not an exact science.
It's not, yeah, neither, yeah. Anyway.
So I can double check with technology to see kind of where we're at with this. We're not gonna surplus until we get the new ones, right? Because we need to take those in and then.
Right, but once we take them in,
Right.
like, is there a staff member who's like checking them for,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, for usability or making them substitute
Yeah.
Chromebooks or.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we do. So we take them in, we kind of assess what the condition is, a large majority of them are really gonna be end of life and not that good, but some of them will be used for damage and replacements and temps and loaners when kids don't come to school. So that is what we do with the excess ones is fill in where we need to just to make school operational. Yeah, I'm not sure if it would be what else I can say to that or bring back,
Okay.
but that's what we do.
Well, I already, as 1/7 of the governing board, I already despise this because there have been 26 academic studies that have shown that students who learn from a paper textbook retain 92% more. And in an age where we're struggling to read and write and math scores, et cetera, I don't know why we aren't following the science. I get that we got iReady on there, I understand convenience, but when the science shows that students retain more and their reading comprehension is much higher, it's like, why do we go to this sub-product when we know the paper is more effective?
Good question, but I'm not the person to ask that question of, so I hear you. The board has determined that, this is a part of our education process. The board wants to make different decisions.
I think that would be a great conversation to have in the curriculum committee.
Sign me up.
Well, we can talk about, we need to get back, we need to have that on a thing to just redo the committees and stuff. But that's a
I would
side
also
topic.
like to know, when a student damages the Chromebook, they're still given another Chromebook.
We're not gonna deny their education, right?
I know.
Yeah.
That would be a.
I know,
What
and that,
is
so
your-
there really is no consequence. I mean, you can say, well, yes, they're checked out to them. I mean, I know that they're checked out just like this, just like the textbooks, but when they're damaged, when they click off every key on the Chromebook, which happens, they're still given, the next day, they're still given another Chromebook.
You're correct.
Just as they would be given a textbook.
I know,
So
right,
that's
I know.
and I get it, it's a frustration
But they
and.
do put them on, I don't know if they do this still, now I haven't been in a high school in a while, but they at that point, we would put them on a not clear list and you lost privileges.
Okay, but we're
Because
talking
I know.
about a third grader that does this.
Oh, yeah,
Third graders.
Third graders, they've got a long way to go before they graduate from high
I
school.
agree.
Elementary students.
And we can
Scott
get
can
information,
give us-
we can do information, we can gather information about
How effective are
how effective is it in terms of which grade levels are having the most issues with having damaged Chromebooks?
Yeah.
And the
because
schools
it's
can run
definitely-
reports on their Destiny program to see how many weren't turned in and how many are overdue.
Yeah.
They could easily run that on a
They keep
Destiny
track of all
program.
that
Yeah,
and.
that would be
They're
great.
tracked just like.
Well,
a textbook.
Yeah, they're tracked.
And also curricularly, and I do agree with you on paper books, okay?
So do
I'm
26.
a lover of paper books, however. The world is going to not go backwards. And technology, like it or not, is a fact of life. Unless or until, I mean, the matrix happens and we're all, I don't know, made into batteries for IA. So, AI. The matrix goes really well with Allegory of the Cave, and I used to teach it all the time, but anyway. We're not going backwards, and if we do not. I mean, it's a fine line, it's a very weird tightrope to walk, because they have to be exposed and learn how to use technology correctly. Without forgoing the best practices in learning. So that is a huge question that just getting rid of Chromebooks for third graders is not going to solve.
Right, well, no, I agree with you. It
But I
needs to be-
liked what you said. Why can't we use a combination of both?
Right.
Which I understand, and back in the dark ages when I was in school, we had computer classes where we learned those. And I don't think we're in danger of students not being able to know technology. I think most of our third graders help program universal remotes for us. So that it's where I'm always gonna go on, where I'll always go on, is what is the best learning, because that's what we're here to do. right? Is to make sure that our students are learning well and retaining. And when all of the studies and everything is showing this is the best, the more technology you have in a room, the less they comprehend it, the less they're actually learning. And yet we just keep pulling the lever on more and more smart boards and Chromebooks. And so I would like to know that all I want to know is that we're having those conversations, that we're looking at the studies and saying, yeah, the world's going that way, but I'm not in charge of the world. Like I have 1/7 of the rule for this district. And I want the students to read and to comprehend in a way that makes them competitive worldwide. And so when I see the studies that say paper is best in those categories, then yeah, that's the house I'll build. That's the side of the fence I'm gonna build my house on. But I do understand.
We do have so next Wednesday at 4:00, I did my invited grade, we have a technology committee meeting, our first one of the year. And in that meeting, we're specifically addressing artificial intelligence in regards to supporting teachers. So I've been inviting a handful of teachers to be part of that committee. So we can start moving forward in terms of talking about what our board policy is going to look like moving forward with teacher and student AI use.
Is this going to address the plagiarism?
Well, remember that thing we went to at CSBA, kind of that direction. And so we can have some voice from the teachers.
Awesome, so I guess we can circle back with, if you guys are interested in that, because I know we still have to go through duties and figuring out who's on the committees, but just as it pertains to this particular agenda item, I know we kind of digress a little bit, even though they're interconnected, in a lot of ways, but I think that's a bigger discussion to have as far as curriculum and as a whole. But as far as this particular agenda item goes,
Well, standing board policy is we replace 20% each year.
Yeah,
So I move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, on a motion by member Pretty, second by member Bonsley, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. H, Alevo Summer Intercession 2025.
We're planning summer school, and a huge part of summer school is enrichment, our after school programs. And so we've had, we're trying to increase the participation of our kids in after school. We provide them different opportunities with not just PE, not just physical education, but also athletics, art, and we've been working with Alivo, and they've been really helpful with our staff, providing additional enrichment. So we're seeking approval to use Alivo at Bridge, Lindcrest, Riverbend, and Terra Buena. And those are our 4 elementary school sites for summer school.
Any questions?
So is there a reason we're focusing on elective items instead of recapturing learning, focusing on academics?
That's just one piece of it. They still have the academic enrichment as well.
Okay.
This is an additional activity.
Oh, but they want to have fun in the summer?
But so we have the academic enrichment in the morning, 8:30 to 11:30, then they have lunch, then they go to enrichment in terms of
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What version's that one? Yeah, I motion approved.
I'll second.
Motion by member Pizziola, second by member Pretty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Z-Tag, after school enrichment.
So this is a new enrichment activity. Like I said, we're trying to increase our enrollment in after school, trying to get kids more physically active and engaged in after school enrichment. And so with after school currently, we have academic enrichment, which you alluded to. But we also have physical activity, and we want to kind of increase the kids' levels of engagement. And so Z-Tag is basically a system where it uses SEL learning, academic learning, and they basically it's kind of like tag, but it's digital tag. And it's actually a really cool engagement activity for kids. It gives them another option in after school, so we can get kids more engaged in the program.
Kids really love it, actually. I've had, we've used this in our after school program. Can I get a?
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
So why are we, this is gonna sound dumb, but hang with me. Why are we trying to get kids more interested in after school program?
Enrichment, academic enrichment. Yeah, so it's important that kids, when we give them opportunities after school to have academic enrichment, artistic enrichment. It's part of our goal or district.
Idea.
So in supplemental to what they're like not getting during the school day or?
It's purely supplemental, so we get in our school districts, we get two types of funding, we get ACES funding from the state and ELOP funding. And that's to expand our opportunities for kids who need after school, who are in after school care. To give them more than just sitting there like as like daycare, they can actually get like enrichment.
So
So
these
it's not
are
just
all
homework
students
time.
sitting in, they're sitting
Yeah.
in after school
After school.
daycare.
But they're already doing it, so you don't need more. But you mentioned you want to get
Well,
more kids
we
involved.
would like the kids to have opportunities to get more enrichment, academic enrichment in their. Yeah, we would like more kids to have that enrichment opportunity.
Most kids go home to
Yeah.
no academic enrichment whatsoever, most kids. So having this as an after-school just kind of reinforces that learning can be fun, that it's not all just drudgery. I mean, it's not just sit here and do your homework, you know, it's engaging and it gives them more to do. I mean, teachers are having to cram so much because of what's tested, and I know that's one of your favorite things. They're having to cram so much of that into the school day that there's not really a lot of time during the school day for a lot of this
Fun.
tag type of stuff. So this just adds that back in.
It's
Well, and-
currently,
and- Sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt really quickly. As far as after school programs go, from what I remember at AK, I could be wrong, there was still time, the first portion of it was that they are doing their homework and they are doing their academic. But if this can be a carrot as to like, hey, we're gonna have Z-Tag today, come to after school and you have a bunch of kiddos that are like, okay, well, now you just got them for 30 minutes of like actual academics help or whatever it may be, and then their reward is to play the game.
So
So
you're,
I'm all for things like this. I think it's fantastic. The
As a
kids
carrot.
enjoy it.
we're just trying to expand, so right now, it's like, kind of like you said, in after school programs, kids go and they have reading and math, they can do tutoring. They can do their work, but that's, if a kid stays there from 3 to some don't stay till 6, they usually leave around 4:30. It's a long time to be in an after school program and just be doing work. So we want to kind of expand our opportunities and give
Well,
them
in
some
the
opportunities
ACES
to.
program, there is a component of recreation that's required. So I think that's, we're trying to look at not just the academic component, but there's also the physical recreational component that we're trying to add to the programs.
so is this Z-Tag physical?
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah, it's like burning calories.
I just heard a military guy and you say that, he's like, yeah,
I would,
definitely.
I should use
Out of
that.
breath.
So you're trying to attract those who need what would you call it, like remedial assistance, like to the after school program, or are you just like come one, come all?
Yeah, it's open for everybody. They actually, if you look at our enrollment, kids who are foster and homeless, typically, this is a high priority for us because those kids don't go to a home really. Or the homeless kids, they go to a hotel, they go to a motel. We wanna get those kids targeted to like be part of this program. But yeah, it's just another opportunity for engagement with kids. So instead of just doing the homework, they get to do Z-Tag. We started doing the culinary this intersection where we live and have culinary experiences for kids. It's in expanding what they can be exposed to. So they're ultimately more engaged in school. So we know when they get to middle school and high school, their engagement like levels off. And those are the kids who are like below grade levels. They're not engaged in school, they're not in a club, they're not in athletics, not in dance, not in performing arts, and they kind of just fall through the cracks.
Fall off.
And this kind of gets them like some sort of niche. They get to be
More
exposed to
plugged
something,
in.
yeah.
Maybe a little more plugged in.
So is that something that, we could just come by and experience for ourselves?
We'll
Absolutely.
bring it to the board, next board meeting, you can demo.
No, I don't want to play with the kids.
Can I get, if there's no more questions, can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to that.
I'll second.
A motion by member Lamb, a second by member Pretty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. J, meteor furniture for the TK extension.
So we have, due to a different class size ratio, we're expanding our TK program with 4 additional TK classrooms. And so those classes will be at Lincoln, Park, Riverbend, and Terra Buena. We're using our pre-K program planning implementation grant to fund furniture to furnish those classrooms. That's for 25-26 school year.
Are these classrooms non-portable or are they the portable? Are we bringing portables? No, right?
Yeah, they're existing.
These are existing.
Both sides.
Okay. Alright. I don't have any questions. There's no more questions. Can I get a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by member Quilty, second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Board report information or discussion?
I just have, wait, no, that's in comments, never mind.
You didn't, did you get them? I'm sorry.
Is this the time for
Did we just do the
comments?
furniture?
Yes, we
So
did.
we
Just
just did
did
that.
Yeah, we just did.
You seconded it.
You seconded it.
No, but what about this one right here?
It was all combined.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's all good.
Sorry.
I don't think there's any board reports or information and discussion. Are there any written comments from the public?
No.
Thank you. Comments from employee representatives? Did you?
Good evening, board, staff, anybody who's on our Zoom audience. I'm Mercedes Giraldo. I'm the president of the California School Employees Association here at Yuba-Sutter. And first of all, I'm going to start by saying, wow, Stacy Starkey, proud paraeducator up there advocating for her kids and her students, and I really appreciate that. We need to, sometimes these kids need a little extra advocate for them. We are still in negotiations and still working through our job description. Task force, we kind of skipped a meeting on that, but we'll get back on track. Our reclassification meeting, our committee will meet with the district on April 4th to review any requests for reclassification. I was the only paraeducator that was able to go to the conference this year. The paraeducator conference, unfortunately, and I spoke to this before, is that the district's policy about having to put out the money up front by the employees, our paraeducators can't afford that. They're young, they don't have any money, they don't have any credit. I'm old, I have lots of credit, so I could afford to go, right? Waiting for that check in the mail though to pay off those credit cards. I just put all that stuff on. But anyway, I took classes on inclusion partners in the classroom. One that I found really, really interesting was understanding children's behavior and moving from survival to executive functioning. That was by Dr. Cheryl Williams Jackson, phenomenal speaker. I went to one of her seminars last year and went again this year. Very, very motivating, very engaging, knows her stuff. Another class that I took that really, I didn't really think a lot about, and that was growth mindset. And now as I'm talking to students and even when I'm praising them for their good work, I'm kind of rephrasing that so that we have that growth mindset. So I think that was, again, eye-opening to me. I wish more people had the opportunity within the district to learn about growth mindset, because I see lots of people not practicing that. I did cross-cultural sensitivity in the workplace, neuroaffirming strategies for students with ASD and ADHD. Phenomenal conference, and I do thank you for allowing me to go, and I'm hoping that next year we can get more paras that we can go and fund to go up front. On the replacement Chromebooks, we have many staff, classified staff, that don't really have access to technology in their work sites. Even sometimes paraeducators, they're kind of like trying to borrow a teacher's computer to check their emails. So if we have surplus of those, I'm sure that some paraeducators and some other classifications could probably benefit from that, maybe just to check their emails to get notifications from the district, right? And Kristen, just wants you to know that I work in six classes, 5 of them academics, 1 strategies, and every single one of them uses either a textbook or worksheet, something that they're physically interacting with. One class, they do their homework on the Chromebooks just to input it, but they still have to write it down. And very little Chromebook used in the classes that I work in. So you'll be glad to know that they do have textbooks. They are really using those. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening again. I'm still Dean Lickens, president of the Yuba-Sutter Teachers Association. I appreciate your time this evening, and I appreciate your consideration of spending priorities in Yuba-Sutter. We do have negotiations on Thursday, and we have been assured that we will talk about compensation on that day. I do want to address one question that came up during your waiver discussions. With regards to contract employees, the district does indeed have some contract employees filling YCTA bargaining unit positions. These are 2 special education teachers, 1 SLP, and 1 nurse, at least as of the last count. whether they play into the classified or the teachers' classroom salaries is unknown to me, but they don't represent $2.8 million. With regards to those teachers without full credentials, those teachers do figure into classroom teacher salaries. That is, those teachers with emergency credentials, of which Yuba City has at least 35. We are left, we need to hire teachers with emergency credentials when we are unable to completely fill all positions with fully credentialed teachers. But on that note, there is a real highlight here in Yuba City Unified, and something of which I continue to be proud of, and that is our mentor program, and specifically tonight our YC induction program, YSEP. It's been several years ago that we brought induction to clear your credential from the county to Yuba City Unified to serve our teachers here in Yuba City to better meet the needs of our district programs. Michelle is the coordinator of that and has 2 full-time mentors with her, Lori and Amy. And they, along with other teachers who act as mentors on stipends, have delivered an outstanding mentor program that supports our teachers clearing their credentials. In the first 2 years after earning your preliminary credential, you need to clear that credential to get a clear credential. Our teachers are able to do that at Yuba City Unified with the support of our mentors without cost. This is a huge enticement for young teachers to want to come teach in Yuba City Unified. So we are able to attract new teachers to our district because of the support we give them in those first couple of years. The goal, of course, is to retain them, but we do get to attract them in our supports. And not only do we support teachers with preliminary credentials, we support teachers without their preliminary credentials. Before I tell you about that, I got to tell you the great news. Our YSIP program was subject to state accreditation. They have to be accredited by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and they are now fully accredited after their visitation at the beginning of last week. And to paraphrase in the final report of something of, you couldn't have done better. And I couldn't agree with them more because I think they do amazing work. The program is responsive to the needs of everyone to build a program that best serves our teachers. We've got something that really works. And the other piece that works there is we offer support to teachers with emergency credentials. And as I've said before, when there was a point in time where we thought about no longer doing that, talk about the teachers that need the most support. They come to us without having started their credential programs, without having done their student teaching. They need the support of a mentor, and we give them that support here at Yuba City Unified. I know that Michelle and her team are going to be working on increasing our robust professional development opportunities for those teachers who don't yet have their credentials. This is huge because those people are in classrooms serving our kids every day. What they can gain from our induction program and our mentors is paying off every day for our students. And then finally, I do want to address to you that if indeed you spent that $2.8 million on a 3.4% salary increase based on our proposal, Yuba City Unified would be competitive and able to attract and retain the very best for our students in Yuba City. I thank you.
Thank you. I just want to go back. Sorry, Member Quilty had something to report for Twin Rivers. I'm sorry.
The budget for 24, 26, 25, 26, 24, 25. Let's see. There you have it all screwed up. $8.6 million. No, that's the number. That's for 24-25 second interim budget. They just finished up the Read Across America. They had a field trip to Buttes. There's some other things they've done. They also just finished up their lottery, and they had some interesting numbers in the lottery.
Very interesting. They do a lottery for enrollment, Greg?
They do a lottery for enrollment, right? I wrote down the numbers.
Deal with
I
it.
just had it. I didn't think she was gonna call me.
Sorry, Greg. But we get it, I mean.
Okay.
we're
They had a lottery, but they don't have enough open seats for the lottery. So they had, I think it was 150 open seats, I believe is what it was, and 186 applied, something like that.
It's pretty normal for them though, isn't it?
And
Because they always have more applicants than availability.
yes, and I have the number right here. It's like, okay, she's not gonna call me.
The Clearwater Board is listening to you right now.
I know.
Yeah, they're just.
So. It's right here, but that's it.
Okay, thank you.
If I have the numbers again, I'll repeat it, but that's it.
No worries,
I wanted to report out on one thing.
sure.
On last Tuesday, a week ago, they had their staff meeting at Albert Powell. And recently they were awarded, I don't know, continuation school of the century or something. I know personally a lot of the teachers over there. My bestie over there is Amelia Davies. I don't make no secrets about that, but the staff that is over there, bar none, are probably the most empathetic yet tough as nails all at the same time. The fact that that young man who was here asking for us to consider awarding him his cord is doing both dual enrollment at Yuba City High School or wherever the
Yeah.
and doing well at Albert Powell. Just speaks volumes to the support he gets there, because the kids that end up at Albert Powell, or the kids that choose to go to Albert Powell, or the kids that is the best choice for them.
Right.
They're oftentimes not the best students when they get there, but the staff there turns them into just amazing human beings. I mean, it's a great program, and so I took them cookies for their staff meeting last week. Just because, just for us to say thank you, sometimes I don't feel like it's quite enough. It's just, another email to get through. So took them some cookies and said, congratulations, you guys rock. And I just love seeing my kids.
Are there any other board comments? No, superintendent comments?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Shelley, because I think our schools are doing some phenomenal work, whether, Albert Powell Continuation High School, Berry School, Purple Star School, recognized by the military, our induction program, and Red Crescent Campers and practices. So, it's a credit to our staff that are doing the work on behalf of our students. And it's recognizing the work that they're doing, and I agree, it's, how do you celebrate that they are doing amazing work from our classified staff, our certificated staff, and our administrators. So I do think that they are doing some incredible work, and I've been trying to share, because every week there's something new that they're being recognized for, so appreciate, but thank you for going down to Albert Powell. So they'll be recognized on April 26th down at San Diego on the carrier down there. They're having a celebration down there. Yes.
That's very cool.
Isn't that kind of fun?
Yeah, because that's cool.
Do you get to go?
I do get to.
Nice.
Good, as you should.
Do you have a board member you need to take with you?
I think Greg's already volunteered.
I
No,
go.
I found my numbers there, but
Oh, there you go.
I just had them there. I was looking right at them.
I just want to go on the midway.
So they're 88 for end of August or end of February was 96.19. I was off my numbers. They had 184 applications for their enrollment with 49 open seats.
Wow.
They were proud of this because their wait list is now higher than their first year of enrollment they opened up. So they were pretty proud of that. So I knew I had something. Was this there?
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and recess back to closed session. There you go.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. seen signs marking some of the gems in Marysville. They're produced by Sapphire Sign Company, providing something small, large, and mobile. With decades of experience, Sapphire Signs has pioneered local production of a variety of signs, like temporary campaign-style signs, welcomes for unique events, building signage, event promotion, and vehicle customization. Need a sign? Make it a gem from Sapphire Sign Company. On the web at sapphiremarketinggroup.net. Sapphire.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties.
Yuba-Sutter done alive. It's the truth that comes through.